Let's do this. So welcome to day 3, and today we are going to close the loop on everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover the sales process, post-production, right? You got all these great images. What are you going to do with them when you get home? Are you going to turn them around quickly? How quickly do we get them in our clients' hands? How quickly do we edit them? What do we edit? How do we edit? That's very, very important. Then we're going to take you through the sales process, live sales process. The client will be coming in. We'll be bringing Kendra and her mom into the studio to show you exactly how we do the sales process. But added bonus for you guys today. I reworked the schedule, and we're going to end the day. I saw a lot of questions coming in on understanding cost of goods and then what products should I incorporate into those packages. So we covered your packages and your pricing day 1, but so many questions are coming in, not only from you guys, but out there, you guys are asking the same questions. Okay, Sal, I'm just starting out. How do I price my work? So we're going to end this day. Don't miss out at the end of this day, right? I know it's going to be intense, a lot of information, but hang on till the end of the day because we are going to drill into what products to carry and how to sell them and how to price them. So let's get started. Let's talk workflow high level, right? Because I think understanding your workflow is going to help you work through the process and how long it should take. So you've got to at least have that workflow written down in your mind, wherever you want to put it, but think about your workflow. And I don't know how many of you are thinking about your workflow, but I'll be curious after I write this down if this is what you follow. And for the record, there's no right or wrong answer for your workflow. There's books this thick written on workflow that you could make yourself crazy trying to adhere to every step of the process. This is my workflow. This is what works for me, okay? So I'm going to preface it that way because I'm pretty sure online we're going to get tons of questions on, well, why do you do this? Why don't you do that? The reason I do all of it is because this is what works for me and my business. So that being said, step 1, right? We're going to shoot. And I think there's a shooting workflow when it comes to seniors. So for us, I like to shoot 100 to 125 images per outfit. Now, if you're just tuning in today and you missed yesterday, then that's probably your head is about to explode right now, right? That's a lot of images. I know photographers that will only show 60 images from an entire session, and here I am encouraging you to capture 100 to 125 images. So per outfit, I will take 100 to 125 images. Now, if you remember yesterday, tight, middle, wide, right? Horizontal, vertical, you can easily see how between going tight, middle, wide, horizontal, vertical, a small smile, big smile, and then a sassy look, you could get to 100 images in about 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, that is very easy for me to get there. And so yesterday, we kind of drilled into that detail. So hopefully you guys are feeling confident that you can pull this off. And maybe you don't hit the 100, 125, but you're finding your own rhythm, right? That was the word of the day yesterday, is just rhythm, rhythm, rhythm. You've got to get into that safety zone, get your safety shots, get the shots you know you can sell, then experiment, okay? And we experimented. When we went on the roof yesterday, man, we were experimenting. But it took a little bit longer, right? So when you're using off-camera flash and we were photographing yesterday, it took a little bit longer to get to the shot, right? I had her constantly stepping again, again, again. If I had started her first outfit that way, it would have been painful because she didn't have a chance to build her confidence. So working quickly with this system I'm teaching you here is going to build confidence not only as you as a photographer, but it's also going to build that confidence with your subject. So now when I take her on the roof and the wind's blowing and she's getting frustrated and I'm making her do the same pose over and over again, she's like, I'm cool, because I know Sal's already done all this other stuff, right? I showed her in the back of camera. So be conscious of that. Don't start with your toughest outfit or posing first. Let your subject work into that, and you'll have that confidence. So 100, 125 images per outfit. Within these 100 and 125 images, I've got to get my, let's call my safety shots. Okay? Then I need to have my, what I call signature shots. Now for the signature shots, that's that one we went up on the roof, and I posted that on the creativeLIVE site with the Space Needle in the background. I would call that a signature shot, right? I'm going to invest a little bit more time in that. I'm going to edit it, so if we can bring that up, you'll see it had, we've got texture on it. We gave it a little bit of an HDR, high dynamic range, and we'll get into that. Style edit, off-camera flash to add drama to the shot. That, I have to get that. If I don't have these signature shots, this is where understanding the whole process works together. So this works hand in hand with what Taylor's going to do to sell, right? Our two most common sizes that we sell are a 15 by 30 and a 16 by 24. These are the most popular sizes out of our studio. And I covered this day one, right? These are our most popular sizes. Why is that? Why are those two sizes so important? In my mind, they're important because they will fit in any home in America. So our studio was built foundationally on those two sizes. So remember what I told you, our average senior spends about $2,000 in our studio. Well, if they're spending $2,000, it's not coming in and buying one giant 4-foot canvas. That's not what our clients are doing. They're buying 15 by 30, 16 by 24s. What does that mean? That means if I can do it in St. Louis, blue-collar America, you can do it anywhere. I promise you. Because these are reasonable sizes, but you've got to shoot for that size. That's where your safety shots and your signature shots come into play. So a 15 by 30, a long skinny, whether horizontal or vertical, and for the record, that Space Needle shot is edited 15 by 30, so it's a long skinny vertical. That has been edited for that 15 by 30. If I don't do this out in the field, when we sit down for the sales process, Taylor's not going to be able to make that sale. Because the client's going to go, well, there's nothing really that fits into that size. Okay? And that's very important. So it's very important in understanding what's happening in the field is impacting you in the sales room. You guys with me? Shoot to sell. We can't just go out there. I see so many photographers just go out there and they're wandering around. They're like, oh, that's pretty. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, it's all pretty. Make a decision. Take a shot. Get it done because we've got to come back to the sales room. Okay? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go out there, shoot. Everybody with me? All right. Step two, we need to have the creativeLIVE marker upgrades here. All right. Step two, there we go. We're going to come home. Let's just say download / backup. This is actually a very important step. Don't wait days and let your memory card sit on your desk, okay? Take it from me. I'm going to tell you a story here. Not proud of it, but just in the spirit of sharing, it happens to all of us. I get so overwhelmed sometimes when I'm shooting. I'm going back into like 2008. So overwhelmed shooting. We were coming in 3-4 shoots a day, and we were using 4 or 8 gig memory cards at the time. So on a given senior shoot, engagement shoot, it was possible for me to go through like 5 to 8 cards, depending on what I could get on a card, especially shooting raw. And so I swapped out my cards, and I put one in my pocket. Okay? Now, you guys saw me yesterday, even though Celeste had me on reins. I'm laying in the street. I'm running all over the place. Well, this particular day, I was at an old abandoned church, and I was laying on my side on one of the steps, shooting up, taking this great shot. We get home that night, okay? And because I go through this process, the minute I get home, I realized I was missing a memory card. If I had waited 2 days to go through this process, maybe I remember, maybe I don't. But if I do remember, it's too late. Literally, 11 o'clock at night, I'm bolting back over to downtown St. Louis, okay? Because I knew what happened. I mean, I just knew it. I knew, it's like when you leave your wallet somewhere, right? Or your watch. I remember. I remembered laying on that step. I go right back to that church. It's like 11, 12 o'clock at night now, pitch black. We were out there with flashlights. Right where I was laying on the step, my memory card was sitting, okay? And it had just started to rain, which made it worse, right? It's like not even a believable story at this point. So, my God, guys, this has to happen immediately. Get home, download, back up your images. So let's talk about this. What's my workflow from a download backup perspective? So I've got what I call a production drive. And everybody at home, you need to start adapting something to this effect, okay? And then we have a backup drive. Remember what I said a few days ago, and at the time maybe you didn't hear it, I've never deleted a single image. Hard drives are so inexpensive at this point, just keep buying them. In fact, around little trick to save you some money, every time, Black Friday, everybody knows Black Friday, right? Right after Thanksgiving, massive sales. The one thing that seems to go on sale all the time, hard drives, right on Black Friday. So I will go to my local electronics store on Black Friday, and I'm getting two $300 drives for $99. I'm not kidding you. I will actually go in and buy 7 to 10 external hard drives for backup. And so what we'll do is, I've never deleted a single image. We keep those hard drives, and then when they're filled, we rotate in new drives. So let me get through this. So what's going to happen is I'm working off a production drive. This is the drive I'm editing from, right? So I'm editing from an external drive. Lightroom is fast enough, USB 2, Firewire, whatever you can do, whatever you can afford, but I'm editing off an external drive. So that's my production drive. So let's just call it, let's just say Kendra. Now my naming convention, I don't know Kendra's last name, and you guys don't need to know it, but my naming convention would be client last name. Let's just assume for the second it's Kendra. It would be Kendra, the month, so it's 7/12. So 7/12 senior shoot, okay? So I want to look at that folder, and you come up with your own naming convention, okay? I don't care what you come up with, but come up with a consistent naming convention that you're following for your clients, both for seniors, families, babies. How can you go into your directory of dozens and dozens of shoots and not spend 20 minutes trying to find your images? Don't just dump them into a picture folder. So I adopt client last name, date, type of shoot. You guys with me? Super, super simple to find my images. In this production drive, I dump all the raw files. So they all get dumped into this. As soon as this is completed on this production drive, okay, that very same night, I create a backup to a secondary, totally separate backup drive. Totally separate. I am not backing up to DVD. I am not backing up to CD. Dude, you will, for a wedding, you might have 18 DVDs that you're backing up to. And then good luck trying to find those images. Oh, what DVD was that on again? You'll never find them. So back up to a full hard drive. Everybody with me so far? Once this backup drive has been filled, this backup drive gets stuck in a Ziploc bag, okay, and then goes off to a safety deposit box. And so this goes out of our location, so our backup drive is always 100% separate from our home. God forbid something were to happen. Fire, flood, whatever the case may be. So this drive is going to have a totally separate home. These images now will live in two distinctive locations. When this folder, if you're a Mac user, when this folder gets backed up, okay, I change the color to green. So you can actually color code your files, right? I change that color to green so that I know these files, these folders, have been backed up. Real simple backup strategy. Another tip, another trick, how do you find these images? Let's say something happens. We've had it happen over and over again. We use a tool called CD Finder. CD Finder. This tool, I'm going to say it's $19 to $29. It was meant for people who had like CD collections, okay? And then you can inventory your CDs. Well, we use it for our hard drives. It's brilliant, by the way. So once your hard drive is full, it catalogs your hard drive. So you don't have to have all these USB drives plugged into your system. They can all be disconnected. Now somebody comes in, maybe it's a wedding that hadn't ordered their pictures in 2 years. We've had that happen. Maybe it's a senior who hasn't come in 8 months and you've removed some of these drives. Now I just type in the last name, Smith. It will tell me Smith is on this drive, this folder, this location. Very, very powerful tool, CD Finder. You have been patiently waiting.
I think you just answered my question. So you're not using a base system. You're literally using individual drives for each one of these things. And I'm assuming, even though you didn't say it with your production drive, but I think you just mentioned it, once your production drive gets full, you move it away and you move to a new production drive as well.
That's right.
But it's always just two drives are connected, external hard drives, not a base system like a Drobo or whatever. You're literally just using drives, and doesn't matter which one it is. It could be this guy, that guy, whoever's on sale that year.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I totally have a preference. I've found that the Seagate drives, external drives, tend to last a little bit longer. We've had too many Western Digital drives just fail. From a customer support perspective, Western Digital has been great in, oh, it failed, we'll get you a brand new drive, but that doesn't do you any good when the drive fails and all the data is gone on it. So that's why having this on two drives, this has protected us. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've had a drive fail. Now, remember my background. I worked at Microsoft. And so at Microsoft, I was in the database group. And so we understood performance on hard drives. So don't get me wrong, getting a RAID array, and that's going to make stuff move a lot quicker. So we do use that when we're doing video. So when we're using video, we've got one of those bays where we've got 4 or 5 drives in there. But I find for straight images, this has worked for us. The performance has been there. Lightroom has done a great job performing for us. And that's the way we do this. So this has been really, really simple as far as a download, backup process. Again, it's about simplicity, and different things are going to work for different people.
For your backup drives, do you send that out like at the end of a week, or do you do that like, because I know sometimes you do like 3, 4 shoots a day. Does that drive go out at the end of the day, or do you like try and put multiple shoots on the backup drive?
That backup drive has to be filled to capacity.
Gotcha.
So this backup drive, this might be a 3 terabyte drive. And this doesn't have to be a super fast performing drive, by the way. So, I mean, this just has to be something, because you're not really working from it. It's truly there for backup. But this, you know, the production drive, this can be anywhere from a 1 terabyte also to a 3 terabyte drive. Again, this drive, my production drive, I'm looking for more of a performance drive. So I want it to be faster, right? So for those of you out there who are overwhelmed by what you're looking at on the side of a box, it's all about RPMs, okay? So how fast are those platters spinning? You don't want a 5600 drive, so you want a 7200 or faster drive. So 7200 RPMs, that's the speed of the drive you're looking for. So get a USB 2, USB 3, right? Macs don't support that yet. FireWire is going to be a little bit more expensive, but if you get a USB 2 drive at 7200, that is going to perform and allow you to work off that drive, right? If you get some of those inexpensive, small portable drives, it's not going to work. They're too slow. So these are your normal size external hard drive. So a true hard drive, not a little tiny portable one. But let's go to some questions, because I know that when I teach this, people, a lot of this, and I'm aware of it, flies in the face of what people out there are teaching you. So remember, in these file folders, these are all raw files. At this point, they've not been converted to JPEGs, DNGs, none of that stuff. I only care about the digital negative at this point. So as long as I have that raw file, I'm always going to be happy. So
on that note, Ant1Photo, who is in Bulgaria, has asked if you convert to DNG and keep them that way.
I am not the DNG, I'm not there, man. So it sounds really great in concept, but to me it's an extra step. The files are huge. It's just not something that I have found any value in doing. To me, I hate saying it, it's about simplicity, and it's about what works for my business. So converting this like doomsday mentality into a DNG file, because that's what it is, right? It's like end of world. If the raw engines never work again, you've got DNG. Okay, I don't see that happening anytime soon. So I'm not wasting my storage space or anything like that. I'm staying purely raw at this point. So let the hate mail come.
Okay, a couple people have asked, C. Valdez from Tampa, have you ever used an online company for backing up your images, such as Carbonite? And R.W. Wydro from Snohomish also asked, do you use offsite storage at all?
Yes, we just started doing that. That is an awesome question. So let's talk about my exposure here. No one's really picked up on it yet, because I know I'm moving a little quick. If all I've got are my raw files backed up at this point, right? So the truth is, I backed this up the day the image was taken. However, by the time the client comes in, there's going to be edits that have been done to those images, JPEGs that have been created to order files. I've removed acne, enhanced eyes, whatever you're doing to your images. Worst case scenario here, I don't have those images. If my main production drive fails, I do not have the edited image, which I'm okay with, by the way, because I can always go back to the original. But as we all know, there's a lot of work that goes into editing those files. So what we've done now is we have created, on our main drive, we have created one folder, and this is called the Edits folder. In that Edits folder, whenever I'm done editing a client's job, okay, so now I convert them to JPEG, because you can't order raw files from any of the labs, you order in JPEG format. When I convert them to JPEG, I dump them all to this Edit folder. That's where I tie Carbonite, or there's a slew of different backup companies. It backs up this one folder. So now, in a third worst case scenario, my JPEG files are offsite, nowhere near my raw files, and I've got all my files, the JPEGs, the files we're going to order from that have been processed, skin softened, all that stuff, are in a totally separate location out in the cloud. So yes. They're talking about being able to do like all your raw files and unlimited. Holy cow. That thing will be backing up for like, the rest of your life, trying to, do 3 terabytes of data. It'll take forever. So the JPEGs, I'm happy doing it that way. So that's a very good question.
A question from wedphoto.ro. Why not using a RAID 1 mirror system? And then also RAIDRO and eBreathe. Have you considered solid state for a production drive?
Both are viable options, of course, if you've got unlimited budget. So solid state, very expensive solution, and the RAID array, again, a very expensive solution and not very scalable. So if you follow my process, I'm not deleting any images. So every time you need more images, you're either removing out and plugging back into a RAID array, or you're getting a brand new RAID array. So this is, again, simplicity. In a process that works. It's very difficult to find exposure, I think, in this process. So nothing wrong with that process, but it's going to cost you a little bit more money to implement. And I think for the kind of do-it-yourself, get-it-done simplicity, this works.
Cool. All right, Sunnywood from Quebec asks, why are you working from an external drive instead of from your computer?
Same process. So the reason I'm working from that external drive is because I'm not deleting images. I don't want to have to open up my case every time I fill up a new hard drive. So that's the main reason. Trust me, I get it. An internal hard drive in a bay is much faster than an external hard drive, right? You're dealing with the channel at that point. USB 2 is going to slow you down the connection speed versus being plugged into your drive and it's eSATA and all that other stuff. So, we're talking technical mumbo jumbo right now. So I get it. Internal is faster, but it's not without process issues because, again, I don't think the average person wants to open up their case and plug in a brand new hard drive every time it fills up. So if you're purging your hard drives, RAID system is fine, internal drive is fine, but I'm not purging my drives. I literally keep every image I've ever taken.
We have a
Okay,
question in the audience. Yep, go ahead.
Sorry. You're not deleting anything. The blinkers,
Nothing.
nothing.
No.
Okay.
Storage space is so inexpensive right now. Literally, you can pick up a 2 to 3 terabyte external drive, $99, $129. It's not worth my time to sit there and go delete images when it's really costing me hardly anything per megabyte of storage. So that's why I don't do it. To me, it's a waste of time.
So from Catherine Adams, you delete from your production drive after you back up, so you only have one backup source, correct? That if one drive fails, everything is gone, and then let's see, we also have a question about from Malaysia, so you don't see the need for triple, quadruple backups, so let's just clarify how many?
Yes, always 2 backups. I never delete a single image, so not even on my production drive will that image ever be deleted. So it's not going to be deleted from production, not going to be deleted from backup. So I always have it in 2 spots. Let's step back a second. Part of my job when I was at Microsoft was working with companies, largest companies in the world, FedEx, International Paper, Coca-Cola, on data recovery strategies. There's a host of issues that could happen. You can never prepare for every single issue. Well, I take that back. You can prepare for every single issue, but there's a price associated with it, right? You can say, well, what if there's an earthquake? What if there's a fire? What if there's a fire at your house and at the safety deposit box and your mom comes in on a spaceship from Mars? Well, all these things, I guess, are possible, okay? But at the end of the day, we've got to figure out what is reasonable in our world. I feel that it is reasonable that if I have these images in 2 completely separate locations, I am protected from 98% of, what could possibly happen. Could my house catch on fire and the bank flood in the same week? I guess, but if that does happen, we've got bigger issues, right? That's more like end of world scenario, and I don't think anyone's looking for their pictures at that point in time, right? The world's on fire, and they're like, dude, you got that one headshot we took of my daughter? No, that's not going to happen. So I feel like this scenario, it's always in 2 spots, okay? And then worst case, I've got in a 3rd spot the edited file. So I've really, truly got, how many clients are ever going to want to go back to the raw file if we have the edited image? So as long as we've got that edited image, I still feel like we're protected. So in 3 spots, I've got these files, very easy, simplistic system. It's a very simplistic system. I think we're protected.
The internet may have more questions about that.
Yes, let's keep going. I fully expected. I knew when we started today this was going to, because there's literally books this thick
Yeah.
written on the subject. So I've just really kind of dumbed it down.
Okay, I have a couple Lightroom questions. Richard from the Netherlands would like to know if you keep your Lightroom catalog file on an external drive also. And Juan Pepe asks, how about backing up your Lightroom catalog?
Yes. So the Lightroom catalog is backed up using, the Mac software is backup, right? So we're doing that. That's happening daily. The Lightroom catalog is on my desktop, and we have one catalog. We probably create 3 to 5 catalogs a year. Just depends on how many shoots. I do not subscribe, for the record, to a different catalog per shoot. So that's a nightmare because I could, in theory, be working on one job, exporting that job out of Lightroom. I will now, as that job's exporting out of Lightroom, I'm starting to work my next job. And if it was one job per catalog, my computer's basically tied up until that job finishes exporting. So I create a catalog and I'm monitoring performance. You know, Lightroom is great at a lot of things, but it's a dog at a lot of things too. So you're gonna have some performance issues as you keep adding more and more images to it. Lightroom 4, for the record, has gotten a lot better in performance. And so now, but I keep monitoring that. And there's optimization within Lightroom on how to optimize your catalog. But ultimately, if you start finding that Lightroom's non-responsive or it's crashing, it's probably because the catalog's getting too big. Create a new catalog. And the catalog naming convention should be the same thing. So we call it, Salvatore Cincotta, SCP, Salvatore Cincotta Photography, _ catalog _ January 2012, okay? March 2012, so that I'm keeping those catalogs somewhat simple to figure out, what I need when I need it.
Question from Karina G. and C. Valdez. How long do you keep all the backups? I mean, how long do we need to keep all these images from years ago?
I never delete a single image. So we will hang on to images forever. This sounds like the toughest thing for our audience to process, that I am not deleting any images. You've got to look at it this way. Storage space is so inexpensive right now. There's absolutely no reason to get rid of these images. And so I'd rather be safe than sorry. And so that's my way of protecting myself. Have I ever had a client come back 4 years later, 5 years later to look for an image? No. But again, I don't want to invest the time in deleting images and figuring out what should be deleted. Oh, I accidentally deleted the wrong image. Now I just leave them all out there. So it's safety for me.
Do you have a process set up to go back and make sure like the hard drive didn't just die on you or fail while it was stored somewhere or something like that? Or didn't corrupt or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, once I copy those images over, I will then go into that directory and scroll through to make sure all those images are in fact there. Because Macs are really good. If the image didn't make it over, it's ghosted. So you'll see that something went wrong in the copy process. So that's what I just go through and make a visual ID to make sure everything's there, and then I know I've got it. So that's all I do. Let's take one more question.
Okay, great. One more easy question. What kind of, or how big are the memory cards that you use?
That is a really good question. Today, when we're photographing, we will not use anything larger than a 16 gig card. Now again, I'm using a 1DS and I'm shooting RAW. So I can typically get 300 to 500 images per card. And there's a strategy there. Crap happens. Memory cards go bad. Memory cards get lost because Sal's laying on a step and it falls out of his pocket. I would not want to photograph a wedding. And yeah, I've got my nifty 128 gig single memory card and I never have to change memory cards, but now that card goes corrupt. That card gets lost. Somebody steals my bag. I do not want to go to a client and be like, I have literally lost every single image we captured from your event. So I want to be able to protect myself, and that's my way of protecting myself. So yeah, it's a hassle. I got to switch cards every once in a while, but you've got to protect yourself and limit your exposure. So very good question. Again, I want to highlight for you, the way you can catalog all this stuff is through that application called CD Finder. So just go out on the internet, Google it. It's called CD Finder. I'm not endorsed by them or anything like that. It's just somebody turned me on to this tool, and it makes it super easy to keep track of where all these images are. Because over the years, as you can imagine, you will not remember for the life of you where some of those images are. Yeah.
And I just want to point out, folks, that also if this is something that you are struggling with, we have a 3-day intensive course with Jared Platt on Ultimate Lightroom workflow, and that can be applied to not just Lightroom, but going through a full day of this workflow and backing up stuff, and it's been one of our best sellers, so check that out as well. If you want
Jared's
more.
great at that
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, he's very detail-oriented, and we'll take you through the process. Jared will probably look at what I'm doing, and he's twitching right now at that. So.
No, this is good. This is good. This
Yeah.
is looking familiar.
So right from this point now, my images are at a place where we are set to go, right? So maybe I'm not going to work on these images for a few days. Maybe I'm going to outsource them, which, by the way, we do. So we 100% outsource. And we'll cover this a little bit later, but here's the thing you have to understand. Every client that comes through our studio, last year we did over 200 photo shoots. Every client will see their images in 2 weeks or less. 2 weeks or less. I got news for you. It's not because I'm sitting there processing these images. In fact, from the photo shoot yesterday, we already have the images edited in less than 24 hours. How do we do that? I edited a few of them, but I outsourced them as well. So we sent them to Evolve Edits, and those guys worked on some of these images and did amazing things. Why? Because my time is better spent running my business, not, sitting in Photoshop. I might sit in Photoshop and edit 3, 4, 5 images. The last thing I want to do is sit in Photoshop and edit a 2, 3, 400 image job. And if it's a wedding, a 3,000, 4,000 image job. That is a waste of your time as business people. You do not want to be married to Lightroom. You do not want to be married to Photoshop. You should know how to do it. You should know it's possible because that helps you with your vision, right? You remember yesterday I went on the roof and I'm like, here's my vision for this shot. And I was able to execute on that vision. But if I didn't know what was possible using Lightroom and Photoshop, then I wouldn't be able to have that vision. Does that make sense? And I always laugh, by the way. You two will probably appreciate this. I have people who will get on me. They're like, well, that's not a pure image. That's not how that image looked out of camera. Can you imagine if back in the days of like Picasso and Dali, they told them you can only use one kind of ink, one kind of brush, one kind of canvas, right? That's ridiculous. We would never do that. So why as artists are we so concerned with how we get from point A to point B? It's still art, and that's my philosophy. So my job is to create the best piece of art, the best looking image for my client. If that's texture, then I'm going to put texture on it. If that means it's on canvas, I'm going to put it on canvas. No tool should limit us. Remember I said it yesterday, technology should not limit, right, the creation process. Technology should enhance the creation process. So I fully believe in using all the tools that are available to us to get an image from capture to final to help us with our vision. So let's go there for a second. So I'm going to erase this. So what we're going to do now, is we are going to come in and we're at the point where these production images are sitting on your drive, right? And let's just say these are Kendra's images, so we have Kendra here. What do you do with Kendra? You've got two options. You can self-edit, nothing wrong with that, or you can outsource. Let's talk about both. No matter what you do, guys, you have to have your clients seeing your images in 2 weeks. If you're missing the 2-week mark, you are losing on the excitement. Did you see how excited Kendra was yesterday when I was showing her those images in the back of her camera? Can you imagine if I made Kendra wait a month and a half to see her images? My engagement couples, they're excited, right? What's the first thing that happens to you guys? I know it happens to me after a photo shoot. When you're done and you're high-fiving the client, you're like, dude, you rocked it. Did you have fun today? Yeah, I had fun. That was awesome. What's next? I don't know about your clients. That's the first question my clients ask every single time. What's next? And so what's next is very important because, oh, well, we'll get to you and we'll have you in someday to see your images, or I'll post them online whenever I get to them. You're missing out on that momentum. Make no mistake, there is momentum here. Remember, the experience. It's all about the experience. The experience didn't stop at the photo shoot. The experience didn't start on the photo shoot. The experience started on the initial call, continued into the photo shoot, picking the wardrobe, shooting the images, going on the roof, doing some death-defying things, laying in the middle of the street, going into an alley, right, with a porta potty John or whatever we had in there. That was all part of her experience. Well, that experience is not over now. Experience continues into her coming in to see her images. So can you imagine having all this momentum, they're all excited, and now it's 6 weeks before they see their images. So I don't care what you do. I don't care if you outsource. I don't care if you do it yourself. But whatever you do, 2 weeks or less has to be your timeline. And you guys better be honest, because I know you're probably not hitting that 2-week mark. So I'm going to call you out. How long before your clients see their images on average? Yep. Mike.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. How long?
I'm at 2 weeks.
You're at 2 weeks. Are you doing them yourself?
I am doing them myself.
Are you going to be able to continue doing it yourself as your business grows?
No.
Okay, that's good. At least you're being honest about it.
About a week, week and a half.
Now, how are you doing that? That's amazing.
I'm doing it myself, but I don't have the volume that's congesting me so far.
Okay, you have to be aware that as you grow your business, you are not going to be able to do this. So when I was back in 2007, when I started out, I was doing all my editing. No lie. Everything I did came through me, right? I had time, I had capacity. 2008, holy cow, our business nearly doubled. Suddenly, we weren't showing them images in 2 weeks. We were hitting the 5-6 week mark. And that's when I knew I had to start outsourcing. And it wasn't because I was lazy. It was because I was slammed with work, slammed with marketing, slammed with customer calls. That's where we need to spend our time. So here I am going, what do I do? That was my first foray into outsourcing. And totally true story. I didn't want to outsource, man. I was scared to death to outsource. Because why? We're all the same way, right? Nobody knows our images like we do. Right? They're my images. He can't edit like I can edit. And there's some truth to that, right? These are our babies. We want to keep them close to us. But suddenly I was becoming the bottleneck to the growth of my business. There was no way for my business to grow. I was in the frickin' way. I couldn't get out of my own way. So I find this outsourcing company, right? What's now Evolve Edits. And I send them my first job. They talk me into it. They do an amazing job. I never send them images for another 4 to 6 months, right? I don't know why. I sent them, they did a great job. I was still too chicken to let go of these images. Well then, the next thing I knew, I had a month where we had 8 or 9 weddings in a single month. That was it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna send you my weddings, but I'm gonna still do my engagement sessions and my senior sessions because I wanted to feel like I was still part of my own business. Then the next thing I know, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna send you my weddings and my engagement sessions, but I'm still gonna do my seniors. Well, the next thing I knew, they were doing everything for us, and I've never looked back. So we look at outsourcing as an extension of our own staff. And it's a beautiful thing, by the way, because when you slow down in January, I'm not paying anybody. I'm not paying any staff. I only pay them per job. So, and then as I get super busy, I don't have to worry about hiring 2 editors, 3 editors. That's on them. They handle that scalability, that growth. So you definitely want to consider that as you grow.
Okay, so as a former shoot and burner,
Yeah.
I can say that, you know, people told me, you better change something, and I got to the point where I was so stressed out about this stuff. I woke up one day, my left arm was numb. I was having a heart problem. I thought I was having a heart attack from the stress. It was
From doing all the editing.
From doing all the editing. I was basically proofing everything. Now at this point, I'm soft proofing everything that the client sees. But, I mean, I think we get to this, and I know, I'm friends with a lot of photographers. I know we get so, but the outsourcing, I mean, it takes time. It's a process. It's not just you send it. I mean, they've got to get your processing down. So do you have any advice for those of us that want to start doing this but have had maybe, I know 3 girls that have tried it in the last month and their images came back horrible.
Yeah.
So what can we do as photographers for this?
That is a great question. So let's talk about what to expect when you outsource. I think the problem when you outsource, and no matter who you go to, it doesn't matter. When you outsource, it's understanding that they will never be 100%, right? So a lot of businesses I work with, they outsource and they're like, well, you know, I sent my images, but they missed these 2. Look, at the end of the day, if they can get me 95% of the way there, 98% of the way there, that's good enough because they're saving me hours of time. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be 100%. So you've got to find a company that you feel confident partnering with because it is a partnership. They become your partner. They have a stake in your business, so to speak, because if you fail, right, they fail, right? The more successful they can make you, the more they can help you sell big prints, the more work you're going to send them, right? So you have to find somebody who sees that partnership and has that vested interest. But it is an ongoing process. It's not something that's going to happen in 24 hours. So what's going to have to happen is when you outsource, the first time we outsourced, we sent them a test job. Hey guys, here's 50 images. Check them out. Here's my editing style. They go to my web. So Evolve Edits went to my website, checked out my work. Okay, we see he likes a grittier, higher contrast, cooler tone edit. So they sent me back those sample images. What do you think, Sal? Yes, no, maybe so. Nope, a little bit too warm, a little bit too cool, right? And it's this ebb and flow. Well, that should only take a week to get dialed in. And so make sure you do that. You have to do that to make sure you're in sync with them. And your risk is minimal, right? Send 50 images. It's a no-brainer. But so if you self-edit, and we're going to edit some images, 2 weeks or less, clients have to see those images. If you outsource, what will end up happening is you will take a little portable external drive, okay? And that's what you're going to send. So what will happen for us is we copy images to external drive, okay? Then we send 2 to 3 drives out a week. So we send a drive on Monday, because that gets all the wedding images out, and Thursday. So those are typically when the drives go out, Monday and Thursday. Sometimes if we're having a really big week, we might get 3 drives out in a week. But that's our typical flow. Monday, that gets our weddings out the door. So think about it. I shot a wedding on Saturday. By Monday, the images are already going into post-production. And so we drop in the mail. So mail drive. We're not doing, I don't do FTP. It just takes too long to upload those, but you can. We just drop a hard drive in the mail, and it goes out there. So mail drive to Evolve. Okay? Then from there, this is the beautiful part about all this. They return to me XMP files. So if you're working within the Lightroom environment, which we do, they email back XMP files. So now, all I got to do, and eventually they'll mail me back my drive, but I don't want to wait for that hard drive to come back to me. So what's going to happen is I get an email going, hey, Kendra, images are ready, XMPs attached in a zip file. I then take those XMPs, import them right into Lightroom. We're ready to go. Okay? Now I will scan through those because nothing's perfect when you outsource, right? You still have to make sure they made the right decisions. I'll scan through and go, I like this image. They opted not to incorporate it. I'm going to 5-star it, so we keep it, and we'll sync the settings, right? Because you're in Lightroom. It takes 2 seconds to sync settings from one image to another. And that's it. So they're usually 95 to 98% of the way there for me. Rarely is anyone going to be 100% of the way there. But I'm okay because now instead of spending a wedding, it would take me 8 to 12 hours to process. A senior shoot might take me 2 to 3 hours to process. Now I'm spending maybe 15 minutes on a senior job. So they saved me all that time. And what am I doing with that time? Shooting more, because that's where I make my money. Questions on this? I saw you had a question, Nate.
We're just getting ready to go around with what we do.
Let's talk about it. Are you hitting that 2-week mark?
Yeah, but same reason as other people, volume issue. I generally get images up that night because I want images up that night. So I'll go through and I'll pick my images, and I self-edit everything. I'll trash what I want to trash. I'll run a raw conversion, go into Lightroom, pick what I want to do. But it's, the raw conversion takes, 3 hours on a senior shoot.
Right.
Takes overnight on a wedding. So I can't do those unless I do it straight from the raw file.
And as you grow, there's no scalability there.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Cannot do what I do today if I want to be anywhere different than where I am today.
Yeah, I can say wholeheartedly, 100% honest, that without Evolve, my business would not be where it is today. I can say that without a doubt, right? There's no fluff in that statement. They have allowed my business to scale by being a partner to us. So, without them, I don't know how I would have grown my business, right? And as I add shooters and more shoots are coming in, holy cow, I'm not going to be the one sitting there editing. So how about you, Yolanda?
Well, I tell my clients 2 weeks, but I'm hitting more 2.5 to 3 weeks. So
Yeah, and
I know
again,
changing. It's going to have
grow,
to, yeah.
that is going to become more and more stressful for you if you want work-life balance.
I'm about a week and a half, but of course I'm doing 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. and then getting up and go to work the next day.
Yes, that's insane, right? And that's what was happening to me. I was sitting in bed editing, and Taylor and I would, lay in bed and she's watching TV and she's having a conversation with me. I don't know if you guys have the same problem with your spouse. She's talking to me and I'm like grunting at her, I'm like, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, then the next day she's like, you agreed to this, right? I'm like, what? I didn't agree. What are you talking about? We didn't talk about that. She'd get pissed, right? Because I'm agreeing to things that I'm not listening to her, so now I'm ignoring her. So that's why I had to get her into the business now. This way she can now just yes me to death all the time. So you guys out there, be honest, write in. I want to know how quickly are you turning around your images? Because if you guys are all saying you're doing it in 2 weeks, I think you're lying. Because I've seen way too many people where it's like 6 weeks for a wedding or longer to turn them around. So do we have any questions? Because I'm going to go and do a little editing here.
Oh, we have quite a few questions.
All right,
We
let's
should
hit 'em.
probably get through. So many people are curious about this. Many people are asking, including T-Photo, what is the average cost to outsource photos? Do they typically charge per image? And then other people had asked, is there a difference between color correction and like an advanced edit?
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, those are all great questions, by the way. So there is definitely a difference between color correcting images, culling images, which is the selection process, and then more of an advanced edit. So I would say there's 3 stages. For me, I outsource all 3 stages. You could outsource any single stage for that matter. So the first option is going to be around the selection process, right? So let's just call it the selection process. Selection, color correction, and then advanced edits. So the selection process, that's the culling, right? I took 200 images, 300 images, 400 images. I need you to narrow these down to my best 200, my best 250. That process, there's a price per image, without a doubt, and every solution's different. I wish I could tell you off the top of my head what Evolve is. I have no idea. You know, go to their website, evolveedits.com, check it out. But so there's a small fee. It's pennies per image to get the selection down. Well then, let's say they take these images down from 500 to 200 images. Now you want all 200 color corrected. There's another per image price, again pennies, only on the images that are being color corrected. So not all of them that have been submitted, just the ones that are being color corrected. To me, this is in fact the heavy lifting. This is what I want them to do for me. And by the way, everyone at Evolve Edits, they're all photographers. All of them are photographers in one niche or another. Why is that important? To me, it's important. I'll tell you why. Because the heavy lifting, the selection process, how important is that? They need to know the difference between a good image and a bad image. They need to know the difference between here's an image that Sal can sell and here's one he can't. So I'm relying on them in this stage of the game to get those images down to my best 250. Well, then here's what I have them do. I have them pick on a senior shoot. I have them do 25 advanced edits. Now, the advanced edits can be anywhere from $1 per, which is not expensive, to $3 per. And a $3 edit would be something along the lines, if we can bring it up while I'm talking, that Space Needle photo that I edited, that would be what would a $3 edit from them. Okay, now I did that myself, but that would be throwing some texture on it, a little bit grittier of an edit. That is a $3 edit. You guys don't want to pay $3 to have an image like that processed? I mean, you can do it yourself, but then you got to figure out the value of your time, and is your time worth $3? So this is on you on how you want to run your business in this advanced edit stage. So those are the kind of things you want to consider, but I would say this is a relatively inexpensive process, all things considered, as you go to grow your business. Yeah?
Question. So in the copyright workflow, if you send them off to the copyright office, where in that process do you do that?
I do not send my images off to the copyright office.
Okay.
Portraits, I think, are a little bit tougher. I don't know that in my world I'm sending copyright off to portrait images. Now, if you're doing landscape, architectural, things like that, then I might consider sending those off to the copyright office. I don't send any of my stuff off. That's yet another workflow that you're going to have to contend with. And then you've got issues with Facebook too. So if you're posting these images to Facebook, according to the terms and agreements of Facebook, technically you're waiving your copyright and they can do whatever they want with those images. So there's, you know, I think our industry is in an interesting state right now, figuring out copyright. I would say very similar to what the music industry went through in the days of Napster and things like that. So, you know, because there's some lawsuits going on with some picture sharing sites because they're doing things with our images as we submit them. So we've got to be conscious and protect our images. So watermark everything that goes out there. So especially Facebook, we put our logo on it. Want to take one more?
Sure. Question from Melanie Mahonen. Do you ever have a specific vision for an edit of a photo that you execute yourself, or do you trust your outsourcer to do it? And do they just learn your style? Another question was, Do you have the same person at Evolve do your edits over and over, or
I
is it
do.
just
I am.
okay.
I am very extremely specific with who's working my images. So my editor is Jade. She's she's here in the United States. That's a big thing for me that I have access to her. If I've got issues with my images, it's not going into some black hole in some country somewhere where I have no access to my editors. This is somebody who has learned my style over the last 4 years. So that's become, an evolutionary process, so to speak, by being able to work and have access to my people. What do I do as far as workflow? I have them do all the heavy lifting. That is not where I want to spend my time. I then have them do a handful of what I call advanced edits. But then from every shoot, okay, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a senior, I take my top 3, 5, 6 images, and then I do Sal edits. Okay, so let's just say 5 images per by Sal. This is because the truth is they could do it. They absolutely can do it. They're very talented at what they do. But these are my jobs. These are my images. And I'm the one who's going to sit down later this afternoon, or Taylor's going to sit down later this afternoon and sell them to the client. So I'm very heavy-handed on these 3 to 5 images, because those are the 3 to 5. I'm going to say to the client, these are art pieces for your home. These are ones you want to sell or have as large prints in your home. I want final say as the creative director on what those 3 to 5 images are. So that is a perfect segue into let's edit a few images. I want you to see what I'm doing, how I do it, and we've got about 25 minutes to break, so I'm going to take you through that process in the next 25 minutes. So let's go over here. And if we got a question or two while I'm queuing this up.
Yeah, I was wondering, is there a minimum when you outsource to whether it's Evolve or somebody else? Like, say you just want to outsource 50 images if you're a smaller scale operation.
No, there's no image or limitation. What there is probably a minimum order, something to that effect.
Yeah, that's what I was
25,
wondering.
$30 usually.
Okay.
But if you're submitting 50 images, you're going to hit that more than likely anyway. So
cool.
Yeah, I mean, give it a try. The thing I encourage everybody to do is just go check them out, try it. What's the worst case? You don't like it, don't do it again. But give it a try, and you might find that it changes your world.